Welcome. This is Aleister Nacht. Thank you for being with me tonight. My name is Aleister Nacht. I am a satanic magus and an author, among other things. So, I'm glad that you're here. We're going to talk about a few things that maybe for the future and see if anyone is interested in this type of format, and kind of talk about what's been going on in the past, what's coming in the future, and hopefully everyone will find this of value. So first of all, I'd like to thank my Patreons. My Patreons made it this possible tonight through their generous donations and support over the last year. My current Patreons, Brian, Eric, Nick, Bernard, couldn't do it without you. And then my top Patreons, John, Bob, Brian, Attis Hoof, Jimmy, Douglas, and Wolfshade. Thank you very much for your generous donations. I've used every penny of that to go into creating something special, and hopefully this will be something that that you guys like, and maybe we can start doing this in the future. So hello, Scotland. I see you pop up on the chat there. Greetings and welcome. Dark Angel, nice to see you there. Welcome. And John, supporter that has been with me for a long time. Welcome. Carla, welcome. I believe that's Wolfshade, right? So anyway, welcome to tonight. Hopefully we'll have a good time. We'll talk about a few things, and you know, I'm nervous as hell with this. I'm not a very public person, and you know, for me this is really a stretch. I'm better behind a curtain and behind a facade, so to speak. And so for me, this is really laying my proverbial soul bare, and I could only do that with you, my friends and supporters. So I guess, in all fairness to the folks that have just tuned in and have no idea who I am, I guess maybe an explanation of who I am. I guess my journey started back in the 1980s, and I was raised in a quote Christian home. It was a broken home. My father left very early on. I don't really remember him at all. And my mother, she went over the edge with religion. And we were in Baptist church every time the doors were open, and you know, it was something that I searched for. I mean, we're all spiritual beings, and we all have a hole in the middle of our soul that needs to be filled. And so I searched for that, and I looked for it in different places, and I never could find it. It was, to me, it was always pretense. And what wasn't pretense was, well, for the lack of a better term, bullshit. So, I searched and searched and searched. She became abusive and violent, and I ended up leaving home at a very early age, and found myself out on the streets. And, I was a wild child, very, very wild. And, ungodly is probably not strong enough. I tried everything there was to try. I subscribed to everything that you could possibly subscribe to that was anti-religion, anti-church, anti-anything dealing with belief in spiritualism. And quite honestly, I think I probably was very close to an atheist at that point in time. I was in New Orleans. That's my hometown, around New Orleans, outside of New Orleans. And I was dating a girl, actually, fucking a girl, and she was pretty wild too. And she introduced me to something that I fell in love with, and that was heroin. And she actually shot me up the first time. And it was love at first sight. It truly was. It had me, and I did whatever I could to get the next fix. I guess with my personality, it's kind of addictive anyway. And so I found that I was doing all kinds of things to get the next fix. And I got to the point in my life where I really did not care. I did not give a shit if I lived or I died. And at that point in time, I was shooting so much horse that I could have easily just slipped off into oblivion, and you would have never have heard of me. I passed out so many times and woke up with a needle dangling in my arm. I just didn't care. I gave up. I totally gave up. And I had resigned myself to the fact that I was going to die. And that's just the way it was. And as an atheist at that time, I just really didn't give a shit. What else was there? You drop dead, it's over. The pain and suffering and everything that you've been through on this fucking dirt ball is over. And, it's the end. So, shortly thereafter, by a chance, I met a woman that was into hoodoo and voodoo in the lower 9th ward. She was a very nice woman, very in tune, and it was the first thing that I really noticed about her was how in tune she was with everything around her, and how everything seemed to be almost preordained in her life. She absolutely was magical in the truest sense of the word. She exuded magnetism and magic, and I was just drawn to her. Not sexually, but I was drawn to her because she had her shit together. She knew what she wanted. She practiced the arts. She practiced ritual. And she actually approached me the first time, and she said, "I guess you're looking for a place to die," or something to that effect. And I had no reason to lie, and I had no rebuttal either. I said, "Absolutely. Whatever there is, I'm finished with this." And she said, "Well, let me introduce you to something that you might like. It's called magie." And so she did. She introduced me to some of the dark arts in the form of hoodoo and root work and things like that. And, it to me, it opened up a whole new world there. And I was able to actually go through that door and try something different. Let me catch up with my chat. Victoria, Kendra, thank you so much for being here. I was hoping that you would be able to attend. Lennar, nice to see you. Now I'm probably gonna mess this next one up. This is Lucifer, I think. Marry me, family. Satanic blessings to you. Thank you for being here. Raven Violet, Crow, Larry, nice to see you. Welcome, brothers and sisters. I'm so glad that you're here. So, after meeting with her, she introduced me to her coven, I guess. They don't really call it a coven. It's a gathering. It's really a family. And she introduced me to that. And she introduced me to black magic. And I was absolutely all in at that point. It was right down my alley. It was dark. It was evil, which I was drawn to from a very early age. I mean, when I was young, I loved horror movies and things like that. And I think a lot of people in the occult arts are the same. They're drawn to some of the dark things that are out there. Not because we're morbid or not because we're goth, so to speak, but just because we're drawn to that type of thing. That's what interests us. Some people are drawn to law. Some people are drawn to construction work. Some people are drawn to Christianity and religion and all these different things. We're no different. In the left-hand path, we're drawn to the things that we like. And we seek out those things just like anyone else does. And I was always drawn to that. So black magic appealed to me greatly. And I was all in. And I started working some of the magic and working the rituals. And I found something out that was very important for me. And that is, ritual makes sense out of chaos. It's a very important concept. Ritual makes sense out of chaos. And just that simplicity of that, I was able to start putting my world back together. Now, I had to get off the junk, and I did not go to a rehab. A friend of mine was an EMT, and he basically locked me in his house, and it was terrible. If you have ever detoxed, if you have ever come off of anything, it's absolutely the worst. It's the worst. You're physically sick, you're mentally sick, you're broken, and there's nothing that you can do but either die or rebuild. Those are your only options. And so day by day, week by week, I got better. And it's not that I did not want to go back. So many times I would be going somewhere and just think it would be just so easy, I would find myself driving around in the lower Ninth Ward in New Orleans, and for those of you that are from New Orleans, we call it Nolans, but anyway, probably wouldn't understand what I was saying if I called it that initially, but I would find myself driving around down there to some of my old haunts, looking for some of those old familiars, and I made the choice that I had to leave. I had to leave. I had progressed in my study of the art. I was a couple of years down the road now from all of that. I had done relatively well in magic. I was still very much an acolyte, but not really a novice. I was getting to the point where I understood more and more of the mechanisms and was able to use those mechanisms. And for that reason, I found it to be absolutely fantastic when an opportunity came up to come down to Florida. And that's where I live now, is in Florida. So, I am a satanic magus for a coven here in Florida, and Magnum Opus. I'm seeing that I've got an error here, that it's not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Are you guys doing okay? Give me a text and let me know if everything is good. It looks like stream health is coming and going. Okay, it looks like it's coming back up. So let me know if you're starting to get some problems there. Okay, buffering a little. Okay, I can hear you. The video is a little on and off. Okay, sorry about that. We're having some storms come through here in Florida. That's where I'm at. And so that's, I'm sure, is probably playing a big part in that. But bear with me. If you do lose the feed, let me know. I'll drop off and I'll restart it and see if we can get a little bit better connection. So let's see. Wester Bobby. Hello. Alec S. Hello. Michael. Good to see you there. And thank you for those comments. Real good. Good encouraging. Seems like it's good now. Thank you, Larry. Terrific. Kendra, thank you. Thank you. So anyway, I relocated to Florida. I found some like-minded individuals, and I did not start off initially being a magus. I started off initially just being one of the coven members, and we had a wonderful magus. And he actually he was ill. He had cancer. And basically dropped out of the coven, and shortly thereafter died. Well, we were left without a leader. We were left without someone, and a magus is more than just a high priest or someone that makes a schedule, so to speak. A magus is more than that. A magus feeds the coven, not literally, but figuratively. And because of that, you have to have someone that is willing to put in the time and the effort and the work with that, because it absolutely takes a lot of time and energy and effort to do. So okay, it's looks like I'm still connected, but you guys can let me know again in the chat if you're seeing something funky. If I'm starting to drop off there, let me know. Anyway, so I relocated to Florida, joined the coven Magnum Opus. That is my home coven, and we do have some other groups that are affiliated with us. We're not as large as we were, say, 10 years ago, because quite honestly, all of us are getting old. In the society today, it's almost worse for Satanists in some aspect, because you've got a lot of people with different ideas out there. You've got a lot of people that is, affiliated with Christianity and things like that, and they're hostile against Satanists and against anyone from the left-hand path. So we have to be very, very careful about who we bring into the coven. And so I guess over the last 10 years, we've just kind of let things kind of begin to die out in those other areas. I love the coven. The coven is my home. That is where the real work takes place. So after our Magus became ill, the other members came to me and said, maybe you would consider taking his place. Maybe this would be something that you could do, and we could kind of keep things going. I was young at that time, as you can see now. I'm not so young anymore. But we started out on that path. And I always say, and you've probably seen this in my books, I always say that accidents are usually the thing that really leads to something special. So I wrote the first book, Magnum Opus, basically out of necessity. The reason why is because when we would have new initiates join the coven, basically I was lazy and I was tired of saying the same things over and over again, and I was looking for a mechanism that I could just hand the new initiate to answer a lot of the questions and then kind of lay that foundation layer, and then we could develop from there during mentorship, but without all of the elementary and primary questions, getting all those out of the way in something that they could look at, they could study, and then we could begin to talk at a higher level, spiritual-wise and also satanic-wise as well. So the book seemed to take off. It was an accident, as I said. It really was not anything I planned. In fact, most people, especially in the coven, they said, well, you should push this out. We should really try to get a publisher. We should try to get someone that's interested and maybe developing this. And, it was rough and crude. And those of you that have read my first books, you can probably tell those books are not polished. And, I get bad comments from people all the time on them, and bad feedbacks and review. And you know what? That's fucking fair. Because I wasn't an author. I mean, that's not what I did. And, it took on a life of its own. And I just kind of rode that wave. And after writing the first book, I was asked to actually write some articles for some different periodicals, and I started doing that, and I started looking at writing another book that would go one step further in the evolution for people in the coven, that would help them along. And I was writing a blog, Satanic Magic, and I would imagine a lot of you folks here with me today probably found me initially through that blog. It was satanicmagic.wordpress.com, and I wrote every week, to use the pun, religiously. And, I really enjoyed the writing, and I enjoyed the feedback, and I met a lot of really fantastic like-minded bloggers doing that. But it was very, very hard to write every week. I don't know if you have any idea what it's like to get on the social media treadmill. But if you're writing or you're trying to produce something every week for mass consumption, it's a chore. It's an arduous task to come up with the ideas, to flesh those ideas out, to capture those ideas. And we're not even talking about the small things like aesthetic and, correct grammar and all this kind of stuff. And 9 times out of 10, the terms that we use on the left-hand path, spell check doesn't know, so you end up getting fucked by spell check all the time. It's it's just the way it is. I've tried different occult spell checkers, and they're all the same. They either don't fully understand or they autocorrect, and you end up with something that's as 180 degrees from what you wanted. So I started that blog, and I started writing, and I started receiving a lot of comments and a lot of feedback from people, and I found that there was a lot of people out there in the same situation that I have been in, and they were looking for someone like me, not a guru, but just someone that had been through it before, who had actually been in the place that maybe they were. And, it rang a note with me in my heart that I could help them and I could guide them along the path and along their discovery. And that's what this whole thing is about. That is what the entire thing is about, is discovery. Self-discovery, discovery of Satan, demons, satanic familiars, discovery of the things that are around you all the time that you either have not taken the time to look for, or you don't have the tools in your cognitive toolbox to be able to coax them to their full realization. So that's what this whole thing is really about. So after writing those books, I had a manager, and the books were very, very successful, especially for an independent. The sales were astronomical. They really were. Not bragging, but just to kind of explain where I was in this whole thing. And my manager, he enjoyed the money. He wanted more of the money. He was making his 20%, which is a custom. 10% is usual, but 20% is like the Rolls-Royce treatment. That was the way he sold it to me as my manager. And so he took care of collecting the royalties. He took care of the licensing, all of the publishing. He took care of all of those things. And, I did not do my due diligence. I trusted him. And I should have spent more time with my accountants than with him. And so anyway, it was discovered that he owed back royalties that he had siphoned off, and they were very sizable. You can Google and you can see the exact numbers. They're out there. But we agreed to settle without criminal prosecution if he would pay, and he would give me all of the rights to my material and walk away, totally walk away. Give me the company, which the company we're talking about is Low-Key Speckbony Publishing, which is my publisher, and just walk away. and he agreed to it. My attorney told me that if we wanted to go to the district attorney, we could certainly do that, and we could put his ass under the jail. I didn't really want to do that. Yes, I felt hate, I felt vengeance, but that's not really what I wanted. What I wanted was more precious, and that was my babies, my copyrights. That's what I wanted. And so I was very, very lucky to get those copyrights. I was able to get some of the money, not all of it. As with everything, when you get attorneys involved, you may be awarded a nice sum of money, but at the end of the day, after everyone gets their piece of the pie, usually the artists and the creators are the ones that end up taking it literally in the ass. I did get a little bit, but more than anything, what I am the most proud of during that dark part of my life is that I was able to walk away with my babies, my copyrights. And not a lot of artists, writers, recording artists, you name it, can actually say that. Usually when they sign a contract, they sign those things away, and they end up in some conglomerate, and that company sells to another company and another company and another company, and they all end up at Sony or some company like that, or in the book publishing world. They all end up at some clearinghouse, and you never get them back because you never have enough money to be able to negotiate with the publisher to get those rights back. So I was very, very lucky in that aspect. And so I tell this to point something out, that if you don't know why you're going through some shit right now, there may be a very, very good reason. You won't know that until you get a little bit further down the road. Then you may be able to look back in retrospect and understand that it had to be like that. That there was a force that was helping you along, especially a force that you are calling upon and you're working with. I've said in my books, it's always a quid pro quo situation. I give, you give situation. And that's the way it works with Satan and demons and your familiar. They don't do anything for you because they just absolutely want to. And you don't do anything for them because you absolutely want to. It's quid pro quo. I get something, they get something. And that's the way that the whole thing works. So that's my story. A little long-winded. I'm trying to keep an eye on the clock here. I'm going to try to keep us to about an hour. That seems to be about how long my attention span is. And, you know, I do appreciate you guys being with me and spending the time with me. So, one of the questions that I usually get is, so Magnum Opus, are you guys atheistic or theistic or spiritual Satanist? There are so many different things, and I don't really knock any of them per se. I disagree with some, and I agree with a lot of them that are out there. Our coven is theistic Satanists. We believe in the existence of Satan and demons. We use them in rituals, rites, incantations, summoning, you name it. And we also agree with certain things that I guess Anton LaVey came up with initially, because they're just good things. Like, not allowing psychic vampires to consume your life and suck away your energy. I mean, that's good stuff. It doesn't matter where it comes from. So we do recognize that there are talented people out there are knowledgeable people out there, and just because they don't tag themselves as the same as we do, it doesn't mean that we are so arrogant that we discount what they have to offer or what they have to say. And I've always found that no matter who you're dealing with, no matter how you're working with someone, or you're maybe conversing with someone, there's always something that you can learn. Just keep your mind open. Stay the path. Dione, I see you there. Good question. We'll talk about that in just a second. Welcome to the event. Next are the objectives. So what am I trying to do with this? You know, I'm very uncomfortable in the public, as I have said before. And so, you know, for me, I'm enjoying it because I'm here with you and interacting with you. But what are the objectives? Well, what I would like to do is I would like to have a place that is accepting of different beliefs. I do think that there are some people watching right now and listening right now that absolutely have things to offer, and you know, they need a platform to be heard. There are a lot of people out there right now that do not have a way to expose what they believe and, you know, what they are doing, and they're really doing some really fantastic stuff, but they just don't have the platform. So I would like for this to kind of be something like that. I would like to be able to share some of my experiences. I would like to talk about some of the subjects, and I'll show those in just a moment. I would like for this to be a sense of community. For me, the coven is family. And I would like for this to kind of be an interaction of extended family. People who want to be here, and people who want to talk about the things that we want to talk about. And who knows, we may make this a scheduled event based on what the feedback is and what you guys think, if you think that this is valuable. So before I go any further, I have to acknowledge my partners, my distribution partners, because without them, you probably would not have heard of Aleister Nacht at all. We've got the larger ones like Amazon, but there are a ton of other companies that play a part in this to make the word available to those all over the world. And these are just a few of the partners that I have, and I am so thankful for them. And you know, because they are good partners, we're able to really spread the message. So a couple of topics that I jotted down that I think we might want to explore during this series. So first is remote viewing from the astral plane. I always get questions about astral workings and astral nature, and obviously there's a lot of good information out there on the internet, and you can Google it and you can read it. I've written about some of that in my books, entering the astral and things like that. But what I would like to do is I would like to tie that together in such a way that it makes it consumable, that you know, people with a basic understanding of how the astral works and how to enter the astral, and meditation, and how to get the spirit into that condition where you can actually leave these limited 3 dimensions that we have, and you can interact as well. So it's something that I think would be an interesting topic, and I would love to share my thoughts on that with you. Also, third eye development techniques, that goes right along with astral plane. As you have heard in my audio books, or maybe read in my books, being able to get into that astral nature as quickly as possible is what it's all about. That's the money shot, so to speak. That's what takes you right to the heart of magic. And being able to quickly do that and consistently do that is the objective, and should be the objective, of every devil worshiper / Satanist. Anglognosis Proximo. If you don't know what this is, you'll have to tune in. This is something that is very interesting. In fact, if you try to Google it, you're going to find very sporadic coverage of this. Depending on the search engine that you use, you may not find anything on it. It is really a fantastic concept, and I would like to share that with you as well. So I'll save that for another day. Effective satanic rituals, that's what it's all about as well. Having successful rituals that have the aesthetic, that has the feel, that has the interaction, that gets the success that you are looking for. That's what it is all about. Luciano, hell Satan, brother. Glad to see you there. Vade Mecum, another good topic. Finding purpose, especially within Corpus Satanas. So, if you're familiar with Latin, the Corpus Satanas is the body of Satan. And finding your place within the body of Satan, whether it is within a coven environment or whether you're a soul practitioner, and many soul practitioners out there have very, very successful rituals, and they know exactly where their place in this world is and where their place in the other worlds are, and they are very proficient in what they do. I think finding purpose is very important in that aspect. You have to be able to find where you fit in and be able to work from there. Michael, I think I said hello to you. Rogue Fool, welcome. Love your books. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ritual makes sense of chaos, just like I said during the long pontificating introduction that I gave. Absolutely. Ritual is what is going to take those things and make it something that is going to produce something. Without control mechanisms, you're just really going to end up in a frenzy of a ritual. And while that may be okay for certain objectives of ritual, you really aren't looking for that every time that you're having a ritual, or every time that you're having a rite, or something like that, or you're trying to do a satanic invocation, or holding a satanic convocation as well. And so those are the things that you want to take that energy and that chaos, and you want to be able to capture it and harness it and be able to use it for your works. Rebellion and devil worship. The rebellious nature, I think, is why we're all here. Absolutely. Satan was the first rebel, and Lucifer, I mean, it is in our blood. It is in our DNA, so to speak. But you also have to take that with a modicum of control, because if everything is about rebellion, you're going to end up shooting yourself in the foot, and you're going to end up losing some things that you could benefit with, and you could actually find yourself light years ahead in your study and your practice. So don't be so quick to totally rebel against everything. Be selective in that. So I would like to talk about that as well. The geodesic nature of linear magic is always an interesting topic for me, and I think other people as well that truly understand what it is in the linear nature. And I think it's something that, to me, is an interesting topic, and I would like to introduce that as well. Marie, welcome. Love your work. Cindy, welcome. Let's see, who else do we have? Raven Violet. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for spending some time with me tonight. And then finally, the higher satanic magic processes. What are those processes? Well, there are too many to actually list here, but I would like to explore those with you, and I would like to explain my point of view and my experience with those, and also the beliefs of Magnum Opus, our satanic coven. And I think that would be a real good topic for us to discuss in the future as well. Vin, welcome. Great. Glad you're here. So I wanted to talk a little bit, answer 3 top questions that I get. So the first question obviously is on everyone's mind. Aleister, you were supposed to retire this month. Well, I am going to retire. I'm going to semi-retire. My outlet will pretty much be limited to exactly what we're doing right now for YouTube, for my Patreons. That is pretty much going to be the extent of it. The interaction on social media outlets outside of that, I'm going to turn over to someone that works with me, and they are going to be doing that in the future. And so Twitter and these different outlets that I use, it won't be me. It will be other people. And I encourage you to support them, because they are going to be promoting me and promoting what's coming up in these events as well. So it will be me in a certain sense, but it will not be me actually typing in on the keyboard. So I had all intentions of retiring this month. I had totally reached the point where I was, I just felt like I'd reached the end. You know, I was ready to pretty much put a bow on it and call it a day. Excuse me. Green tea. And because of that, I had every intention, and I promise you it was not a publicity stunt or anything like that. One of the deciding factors was the outreach of people just like you that said, hey, look, you know, we still want information from you. You know, we understand, but we would love to have an outlet where we could still exchange information. We could still be able to exchange ideas and learn and grow and to me, again, it struck a chord with me that people cared. I mean, for so long, I've just kind of reached the point where I didn't think anyone really gave a shit. Every week there's someone new on YouTube or a website, and they're a Satanist this week, and next week they're an atheist, and next week they're a Presbyterian, and next week they're doing something different, and then the next week they're reviewing software. I mean, what the fuck? So, I can't compete with that, and I don't intend to compete with that. That to me is boring. That to me is just showboating, and, it's a fad. It starts, it lasts for a season, and it dies. And like with most things, there's very, very little value and a lot of hype. And I did not want to do that. I did not want to compete with that. Aleister Nacht is not going to review the latest iPad. I don't give a shit. I do what I do. I know what I know. And I know where my swim lane is. And I don't want to try to compete with that. These people that are in your face all the time telling you something new, and 9 times out of 10 they have some kind of ulterior motive anyway, and they just go with the trend. And a lot of these people start because they want to be YouTube influencers and this, that, and the other, and that's fantastic. Listen, I'm not knocking them, not at all. But what I am saying is I can't compete with that. I don't intend to try to compete with that. And so my message is not broadcast very widely. It's a very select group, just people like you that are with me tonight, that it makes sense and that you want to have a part of. And so, again, I had every intention of doing that. And I think that there's more. I think there's some more that I can offer. And I'll continue to offer as long as you're there. And, I think everyone should try to help when they can. And I would hate to just fade into oblivion and outlive my usefulness. That probably is more scary than anything else for me. I also get a question about joining Magnum Opus. So I saw one come through the chat, and I do appreciate those questions, and I do appreciate the interest. But right now, we're not looking for any new members. As I said before, we're not as large as we were about 10 years ago or so. We were starting to have covens in different places. We had one that started in Texas, and one that started in Oklahoma, and I traveled up there and held some initiation rituals and things. We had 8 here in Florida, and we're down to 5 now. And so it's one of those things that ebbs and flows. It's not that we would not want more members, and it's not that we would not want to grow, obviously, but there's a lot of logistics that's involved in that. And a lot of times these things take on a more of a, an activist type organization. And we're not activists. I mean, we have our beliefs and we have our political beliefs just like anyone else. But, we worship Satan and the devil. I mean, we are really not into marching on the White House, or raising a new statue somewhere. And the folks that do that, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. The temple that I'm speaking of is they have done a lot to really bring the message of the occult, not just Satanism, but the occult. Now, their belief is more atheistic. They do have some Satanists in their organization that are theistic and spiritual, but we did not really want to get involved in that part of it. We're very private in our nature. For that reason, that's why we have been around as long as we have. So, we did not want to get involved in that. And also, there are a lot of people who contact me every week, and they want to join Magnum Opus. They want to get into this. They want to do that and the other. And, some are sincere, and some of them have spent about 30 minutes cruising around on the internet. And, this week is Satanism. And so, what better than to sell everything they have and come down to Florida and, make a lot of money in Satanism. Well, it's just not like that. So it's a balance. So right now, we're not looking for members. It doesn't mean that we won't in the future. I have my very special ideas of members, and that may come to fruition in the future. We'll have to see. And then the last question here that I always get asked, and I can answer it fairly quickly because we've got about 3 minutes left here on the clock. What is magic, or magique, or magic with a C or with a K or what have you? To us and to Magnum Opus, they are all the same thing. With the K was actually started by a couple of the occultists. It was used a lot by Aleister Crowley, and it was used to denote a difference between magicians who do magic tricks, pull a rabbit out of the hat, and people that sincerely study the occult. And that was kind of the formulation of that. Well, what magic is to us is energy, and it is the control of energy and forming that control to do your bidding and to create the reality that you want. And there are mechanisms to do that. And once you know how, you can actually do that, and you can wield that power. And those of you that have experienced it, absolutely, you can't go back. You absolutely can't go back. Once you have seen that and, so to speak, you've had the real thing, everything else is an imitation, and you can't go back. That's the way I feel about it. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Thank you so much. So, if you like this and you want us to continue this, consider supporting the message, okay? One thing on YouTube, my videos have 0 ads. I don't want to add any ads. I don't want to add revenue or any of that to my tube, because to me, when I'm watching a video and then halfway through I get some kind of vaginal itch cream advertisement backed up with some fat fucker's toe fungus, that just turns me off, right? And you don't have control over a lot of that stuff. And so I just did not want to do that. But please consider supporting the message. And so with that, I think we arrived at 8 o'clock. So thank you so much for being here. I cannot tell you what it means to me. I had a lot more people here than I thought would show up. And I really and truly appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And until next time, this has been Aleister Nacht. I hope we can do it again real soon. Until then, hail Satan.